It was a bad idea.
Chill, okay?
I'm chill. Sure, I'm glad.
Most people remember Elizabeth Berkley from her time on Saved by the Bell, where she played the wealthy, sharp-tongued Jessie Spano across 4 seasons and multiple TV movie specials. It's a role that made her a household name among millions of teenagers in the early 1990s, launching what seemed like an inevitable path to film stardom. Yet despite that platform, Elizabeth Berkley's post-Saved by the Bell career took a trajectory that defied expectation, one marked by a single, infamous project that would reshape how the industry perceived her. Today, I would like to recall Elizabeth Berkley's career and understand why a star who had everything in 1995 found herself in direct-to-video obscurity by the year 2000. Elizabeth Berkley was born in Farmington Hills, Michigan in 1972 and began her career as a dancer and model before transitioning to acting. Her early roles were scattered across television, guest spots on shows like Saved by the Bell's predecessor, Good Morning Miss Bliss, where she originated the character of Jessie Spano. When Saved by the Bell itself launched in 1989, Berkley was already 16 years old enough to carry complex storylines, but young enough to match the high school setting. The show became a cultural phenomenon, and Berkley's character, though initially positioned as comic relief, evolved into one of the ensemble's most compelling figures. Her comedic timing, particularly in the famous "I'm so excited, I'm so scared" caffeine pill episode, became instantly iconic. However, television success at that level rarely translated to film careers in the late 1980s and early 1990s. It was a ghetto that studios actively worked to keep actors trapped in. When Saved by the Bell ended in 1993, Berkley was 21 years old and at a genuine crossroads. The show had run for 2 seasons on NBC, plus 2 seasons on Fox, and the cast faced the classic problem. They were either going to break into film or be forever branded as TV actors. Mark Paul Gosselaar, who played Zach, managed to book a series of supporting roles in films and eventually landed leading parts. Berkley, meanwhile, accepted guest roles on variety shows and appeared in a handful of forgettable TV movies, but nothing that moved the needle significantly. She was still bankable enough to get meetings, still pretty enough to get callbacks, but the roles that came were either underdeveloped supporting parts or straight-to-cable productions. The industry's memory was already fragmenting. In 1994 and early 1995, Berkley took whatever came across the table. A guest spot here, a cable thriller there, the kind of work that kept an actor visible but not remembered. Then, in 1995, director Paul Verhoeven came calling. Verhoeven was the Dutch provocateur behind RoboCop, Total Recall, and Basic Instinct, a filmmaker known for pushing boundaries, mixing exploitation with genuine craft, and courting scandal as a marketing strategy. He was developing a project called Showgirls, a film about a young dancer named Nomi Malone who arrives in Las Vegas and becomes entangled in the world of topless revue, casino politics, and sexual power plays. The role required nudity, explicit sexual content, and a lead actress willing to throw herself into material that other A-list actresses were rejecting outright. Berkley signed on, reportedly motivated by the chance to work with an Oscar-nominated director and the substantial paycheck that came with a lead role in a major studio picture. It was positioned as her breakout film, the vehicle that would make her a movie star. MGM was behind it with a reported budget of $40 million, making it one of the more expensive projects Berkley could have landed at that career stage. Showgirls began principal photography in 1995 and completed post-production throughout 1996. Early reviews from test screenings were mixed, but not catastrophic. The studio believed they had a provocative drama that would draw both the art house crowd and mainstream audiences curious about the Vegas setting. The film's marketing campaign played up both the scandal factor and Verhoeven's reputation as a serious auteur. When Showgirls premiered at the Venice Film Festival in September 1995, the reaction was, in retrospect, a warning sign. Critics didn't engage with it as controversial art. They dissected it as a misfire. The screenplay, by Joe Esterhazy, was panned for its overwrought dialogue and tonal inconsistency. Berkley's performance was criticized not as daring, but as wooden, her American accent occasionally slipping, her delivery of the film's most intense monologues landing with an awkward thud. The film's depiction of sexuality was deemed either exploitative without purpose or incompetently staged. Reviewers couldn't seem to decide which was worse. When Showgirls opened in wide release on September 22nd, 1995, it grossed only $7.2 million in its opening weekend against a $40 million budget, missing industry projections by a staggering margin. Within 3 weeks, the film had become the poster child for studio miscalculation. It would eventually gross just under $21 million domestically, a shortfall of nearly $20 million when marketing and distribution costs were factored in. The film lost money, a lot of it. More damaging than the financial failure was the critical consensus. Reviewers declared Showgirls not just bad, but historically, monumentally bad. Major critics wrote takedowns that became templates for how to dismantle a film. Roger Ebert gave it 0 out of 4 stars, calling it a film so bad it's not even funny. The film became a cultural laughingstock, fodder for comedy monologues, a reference point for worst of the year lists, and, eventually, a midnight movie cult curiosity watched specifically because it was infamous. Elizabeth Berkley, as the lead, absorbed the full impact of that failure. What made Showgirls so catastrophic for Berkley's career wasn't merely that the film lost money or received poor reviews. It was that the failure was so total, so public, and so defining that it became impossible for producers, directors, and studios to imagine her in any other context. After Showgirls, when studios thought of Elizabeth Berkley, they thought of Nomi Malone. When agents tried to pitch her for dramatic roles, studios passed, citing the Showgirls Association. When she auditioned for comedies, casting directors questioned whether audiences could separate her from the film's tonal catastrophe. The role had been intended as her entrance into the mainstream. Instead, it became a permanent scarlet letter. Within 6 months of the film's theatrical release, her agency began shipping her toward lower-budget projects and cable productions. Offers that had been flowing in 1995 dried up almost completely by 1996. In 1996 and 1997, Berkley took roles that reflected her diminished status. She appeared in a low-budget thriller called Demon Knight, a direct-to-video action film that barely garnered distribution. She guest-starred on television shows, including appearances on Friends and later on Dawson's Creek, but these were episodic gigs, not ongoing roles. She was cast in straight-to-cable productions like the First Wives Club spin-off concept that never materialized, and a handful of B-movie releases that went directly to video rental stores. The box office and critical failure of Showgirls had created a perception problem that no amount of good work in smaller projects could overcome. Typecasting is a brutal force in Hollywood, and Berkley discovered that once you've been painted as a certain kind of actress in a notorious project, the industry has difficulty seeing you as anything else. The machinery of perception, once set in motion, is nearly impossible to reverse. By 1998, 3 years after Showgirls, Berkley had become a cautionary tale. Industry insiders discussed her as an example of what happens when talented actors make the wrong project choice at the wrong time. Some gossip at the time, which has since been partially verified, suggested that studio politics may have contributed to the film's downfall. Rumors swirled that MGM didn't fully back the marketing campaign after early test screenings signaled trouble, essentially writing off the film internally while pretending externally that they believed in it. Other sources claimed that Verhoeven's original cut was over 3 hours and that the studio-mandated recut, trimming the film to 131 minutes, had further damaged the narrative coherence. Regardless of the behind-the-scenes dynamics, these details were unknown to audiences and critics at the time. What mattered was the film that was released, and Berkley's performance in it became the public's sole metric for assessing her abilities as a dramatic actress. One production room anecdote that circulated after the film's failure involved Berkley's commitment to the role. She had trained extensively for weeks, worked with a AE or B&D vocal coach to adjust her American accent for authenticity in the Las Vegas setting, and pushed herself into the emotional and physical demands of the character. In interviews before the film's release, she spoke about the challenge of the material and her respect for Verhoeven's vision. Yet when the reviews came in, her preparation and dedication were either dismissed or not mentioned at all. Critics seemed uninterested in the labor that went into the role. They were too busy running away from the film itself. This disconnect between effort and reception is one of the cruelest aspects of Hollywood. The industry doesn't always care how hard you worked, only whether the end result works. The years between 1998 and 2002 saw Berkley operating in the margins of the entertainment industry. She accepted roles in forgettable ensemble pieces, appeared in a low-budget horror film that went direct-to-video, and took guest spots. Berkley could still book steady work if she was willing to accept roles as a member of an ensemble rather than as a lead or near lead. Her agent positioned her for these kinds of parts: the reliable ensemble player, the character actress with name recognition from the 1990s, the professional who would show up prepared and deliver competent work. In recent years, Berkley has continued to work in television and has begun to embrace hosting and producing roles outside of traditional acting. She appeared in guest spots on shows like The Saved by the Bell Resurrection, a 2020 revival of the original series on NBC's Peacock streaming service, where she reprised her role as Jessie Spano to positive fan reaction. The nostalgia factor, which had haunted her throughout her career, finally began to work in her favor. Audiences who had grown up watching her on Saved by the Bell were now nostalgic for that era, and networks capitalized on that nostalgia through revival programming. Berkley, now in her 50s, found that the original show's cultural rehabilitation had lifted her status along with it. In 2022 and 2023, she took on roles in independent television productions and continued to appear in guest spots, demonstrating that she could still find work, but that her career had fundamentally shifted from potential leading lady to established television character actress. The legacy of Elizabeth Berkley's career is one of immense promise, colliding with singular catastrophe at a pivotal moment. She had all the tools to become a successful film actress. She came off a hit television show with name recognition. She had industry connections. She had the looks and talent to access major studio productions, and she had an agent and representation that believed in her potential. Yet Showgirls, a project that seemed at the time like a legitimate breakout vehicle, became instead a professional guillotine. The film's failure wasn't just financial or critical, it was existential to her career trajectory. In the aftermath, she lacked either the star power to overcome the stigma or the humility and strategic positioning to gracefully pivot to television in real time. Instead, she spent the better part of a decade in the wilderness, taking whatever work was available, watching her opportunities contract incrementally year after year. If Elizabeth Berkley had refused the Showgirls role and instead accepted a supporting part in a mid-budget thriller or taken a lead role in a lower-stakes cable drama, her career trajectory would almost certainly have been different. If she had received better career guidance in the immediate aftermath of Showgirls, actively repositioning herself toward television, rather than desperately auditioning for film roles she wasn't being offered, she might have found her footing faster. If Saved by the Bell had not been revived and had not experienced a critical and cultural reassessment, her professional relevance might have continued to fade entirely. What we know now is this: Elizabeth Berkley is still working, primarily in television and occasional film roles, with a career that has stabilized at a level of quiet professionalism rather than the stardom that once seemed inevitable. She has found peace with her status as a familiar face from the 1990s, rather than a contemporary leading lady. The question of whether she could have been a major film star had Showgirls not happened is ultimately unanswerable. But there is no doubt that the film truncated her trajectory and forced her down a path she would not have otherwise traveled. Her story serves as a reminder that in Hollywood, one project can define a career, that audience perception is immensely difficult to reverse, and that sometimes the difference between a star who breaks through and one who doesn't comes down not to talent or effort, but to the timing of a single catastrophic decision.